There are stories the world never dares to tell in full. Disasters so perfectly timed, so eerily repeated, that they feel less like coincidence and more like a curse. In 1912, the Titanic was called unsinkable, a miracle of human engineering. But in the dead of night, it vanished beneath the icy Atlantic, dragging over 1,500 souls into darkness. Many of them were among the richest and most powerful men of their time. Over a century later, in 2023, another vessel, Titan, descended to the Titanic's grave. It carried 5 billionaires. None of them returned. What kind of fate waits at the bottom of the ocean, where time stands still and echoes of the past refuse to fade? Was this just an accident repeated, or something much darker? Today, we'll dive into the chilling mysteries behind Titanic, from hidden conspiracies and financial rivalries, to lost relics, ancient curses, and a pattern that may still be claiming victims even now. So fasten your seatbelt, because once you hear what's buried beneath the waves, you may never see history the same way again. But first, you'll have incredible luck if you like and subscribe before this video ends. In the vast darkness of the North Atlantic, the sea swallowed everything. The cold was unbearable. Water temperatures were near freezing, just below 28 degrees F. It took less than 15 minutes for most who entered the water to lose consciousness. By the time the Carpathia, a passenger liner, arrived at dawn, the screams had faded. Only silence remained. Of the 2,224 passengers and crew aboard Titanic, only 705 survived. That means over 1,500 lives were lost in a single night. A number so staggering, it eclipsed even the worst nightmares of those who built the ship. But survival was not evenly granted. Far from it. In first class, over 60% survived. In third class, nearly 75% perished. The wealthy and powerful had access to the upper decks, lifeboats, and early warnings. The poor, many of them immigrants chasing a new life in America, were trapped below. Some doors were locked. Some simply never stood a chance. Entire families vanished beneath the sea. Children were torn from their parents in the chaos. Wives were lowered into lifeboats, watching their husbands vanish into darkness. It wasn't just a maritime disaster. It was a revelation, a mirror reflecting the brutal divide between wealth and power, between those who were saved and those who were sacrificed. Even the lifeboats, the very symbol of hope, became part of the tragedy. Several were launched only half full. One carried just 12 people, though it could hold 40. As the ship broke in half, those in lifeboats looked back in horror, unable or unwilling to return and rescue others. Among the dead were some of the richest men in the world. John Jacob Astor IV, Isidor Straus, Benjamin Guggenheim, men whose influence shaped nations. And yet, even they were not spared. Or were they meant to die? Because when you look closely, you'll find that some of those who didn't board Titanic were just as powerful and had far more to gain from its sinking. What if this wasn't just a tragedy of nature, but a calculated turning point in world history? Let's go back to the days before Titanic set sail. The name J.P. Morgan was already legendary, a titan of finance, a man who practically controlled the American economy with his bare hands. He didn't just own banks, he owned railroads, shipping lines, steel empires, and yes, he also owned the Titanic. Through his company, International Mercantile Marine, J.P. Morgan had direct control over White Star Line. It was the very firm that built and operated the ship. He funded it, he designed it, and he even reserved a private luxury suite for himself on board. But here's the twist. At the last minute, Morgan canceled his trip. He never boarded the ship he helped create. He claimed he had urgent business in France, but many believe this was no accident, because on that very voyage there were 3 men, all prominent, all extremely wealthy. All of them strongly opposed Morgan's plans to create the Federal Reserve Bank in the United States. They were John Jacob Astor IV, the richest man in America; Benjamin Guggenheim, industrialist and mining magnate; Isidor Straus, co-owner of Macy's and a powerful political voice. All 3 died in the disaster, and with them, the strongest opposition to Morgan's central banking ambitions vanished. Just 1 year later, in 1913, the Federal Reserve Act was signed into law. It gave private bankers, including Morgan and his associates, massive control over the U.S. financial system. Coincidence? Or was Titanic not just a tragedy, but a purge? Some researchers point to the ship's flawed safety systems, the missing binoculars in the crow's nest, the ignored iceberg warnings, and the captain's unusual orders to maintain top speed in icy waters. Were these just tragic errors, or was the fate of Titanic orchestrated from the beginning? And most chilling of all, if Morgan had planned this, how far would he or anyone go to shape the future of the world? A ship full of dreams, a sea full of secrets, and a banker who never boarded. Titanic had a twin sister. Her name was Olympic, built by the same company, constructed in the same shipyard, designed with nearly identical specifications. From the outside, they were almost indistinguishable. But here's where the mystery deepens. Olympic launched first in 1911, and not long after, she suffered a serious accident. She collided with a British naval vessel, HMS Hawke. The damage was extensive. Her keel twisted, her frame bent, her reputation badly wounded. Insurance refused to cover the full damage. White Star Line was facing massive financial loss. So a theory was born. What if they switched the ships? What if the damaged Olympic was disguised as Titanic? And what if it was Olympic, not Titanic, that sailed on that fateful night? Because if a broken ship accidentally sank at sea, insurance could be claimed, losses covered, and no one would ever know. Supporters of this theory point to strange clues. Titanic sea trials were rushed. Photos show the lifeboat arrangement matched Olympic's original layout. The nameplates may have been swapped, and in the wreckage found deep below the Atlantic, some believe they saw markings matching Olympic's unique internal construction. Even more strange, crew members who had worked on Olympic refused to board Titanic. They claimed something felt off, unspoken, wrong, and there's this. The man who designed both ships, Thomas Andrews, died aboard Titanic, but his notes on the final ship's layout have discrepancies, as if he was working from memory, or perhaps from a ship he didn't fully recognize. Could this be the greatest insurance scam in maritime history? Could a company have knowingly sent passengers to their deaths, all to save its bottom line? Or is this just another ghost story, spun from tragedy and shaped by coincidence? One ship sank, another sailed on, but which one was which? And can the truth ever be recovered from a grave 2 miles deep? What if the iceberg wasn't the only cause? What if Titanic was doomed long before she touched the sea? One theory points to speed. There was intense pressure on Titanic's maiden voyage. White Star Line wanted headlines. A record-breaking crossing, a symbol of British engineering unmatched by any rival. Captain Edward Smith, on his final voyage before retirement, was encouraged to keep full steam. Despite iceberg warnings, despite frigid waters, despite darkness, the ship pushed forward at near maximum speed. Some say it was pride, others say it was orders, but either way it may have sealed the ship's fate. Another theory involves fire. In 2017, rare photographs revealed something startling: a massive black streak on Titanic's hull, right where the iceberg struck. Experts believe this was a coal fire, one that had started even before the ship left Southampton. It burned in the ship's coal bunker for days, weakening the steel bulkhead from the inside, making it brittle, making it vulnerable. So when the iceberg hit, the ship gave way, not because of impact alone, but because she was already wounded. But the most chilling theory has nothing to do with metal or machines. It speaks of ancient wrath, of curses that follow those who disturb the dead. Some claim Titanic was carrying a mummy, an Egyptian relic stolen from the tomb of a high priestess, hidden within a wooden crate, disguised as cargo, on its way to an American collector. According to legend, the priestess's spirit brought misfortune to all who possessed her. The crate had already caused a series of tragedies in London. Museum staff who handled it fell ill or died. Reporters who mocked it vanished. And then it was loaded onto Titanic. The night Titanic sank, survivors reported strange silence, unnatural calm before the chaos, as if something unseen waited, watching. And when the ship broke, some swore they heard music, like chanting, far beneath the waves. Is it all coincidence? Or did Titanic carry more than just passengers? Did it carry pride, fire, and a curse that would echo through the ages? In 2023, more than a century after Titanic sank, another vessel set out to reach its grave. Its name was Titan. It was not a cruise ship. It was a private submersible, small, experimental, and built by a company called OceanGate. On board were 5 men, each one wealthy, powerful, curious, and willing to risk everything to touch history. Among them was Hamish Harding, a billionaire adventurer, a man who had flown into space and crossed the poles. Also aboard was Shahzada Dawood and his teenage son Suleiman. Their family was among the most influential in Pakistan. The CEO of OceanGate, Stockton Rush, piloted the sub. They descended into the deep, toward the wreckage of Titanic, toward the darkness, and then they vanished. For days, the world watched in suspense. News reports speculated about air, about possible tapping sounds, about a last-minute rescue, but hope faded quickly. Debris was later found on the ocean floor, imploded, crushed by the unimaginable pressure of the deep sea. There were no survivors, no bodies, no second chances, and so the question returned. Why did Titan meet the same fate? Why again did billionaires fall in the same waters, in the same region, in pursuit of the same wreck? Some call it human arrogance. Others say it's engineering failure, but for many, it felt like a pattern, a curse reawakening, a cycle completing itself. Titanic was not just a shipwreck. It became a myth, a legend. And now perhaps a warning. What lies in the depths is not just rusted steel. It is memory and mystery, and maybe something that does not want to be disturbed. Titan reached out across a century and claimed 5 more names. All men who thought they could conquer the deep. But some places were never meant to be touched, and some ghosts are never done haunting. Over 100 years have passed, yet Titanic still drags us downward, into cold questions, into quiet fears. Was it only an accident, or was it destiny written in steel, and sealed by secrets no one dares to read aloud? Why do the powerful keep returning to its grave? Why does tragedy repeat with uncanny precision? From Astor to Harding, from Titanic to Titan, maybe it's not just about ships, maybe it's about pride, about control, about touching things we were never meant to touch. Titanic is no longer just a sunken hull. It is a symbol of ambition, of arrogance, of the invisible thread that ties wealth to ruin. And somewhere deep in the black Atlantic, that thread still coils, still waits. So the next time someone says it can't sink, or it's perfectly safe, ask yourself, who is watching from below? And what price must be paid to prove we were wrong? Thank you for staying until the end of today's mystery. Be sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We'll see you in the next video.